What is up, everybody? Happy Friday and welcome to the All-NBA Show, part of the All-City Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Mares, and joining me on this Friday, this very basketball-filled Friday, Tim Legler. Legs, how you doing?
I'm great, man. You can't get better if you love hoops. It's that time of year, man. So I'm in heaven. It's because I don't have to just wait for the nighttime to watch games. I can watch them all day with the college tournament going on. So I'm thrilled. And last night, as far as the league goes, there was a few on my radar, none bigger than Knicks Nuggets. And Knicks, still not fully healthy, but it hasn't really mattered much to them the way they play. So I was really curious to see if that competitive will was going to be enough against a team like the Nuggets.
It almost was. I thought it was a very good effort and a loss. We're going to talk about that game, of course. We're also going to talk about the Pelicans and the Magic. We're talking about four of my favorite teams today, Legs. I love the Pels and Magic, although the Pels suffer an injury to Brandon Ingram. We'll talk about that as well. And the Orlando Magic, the number one defense since the All-Star break. We're going to talk about them as well. We'll also get to some March Madness takes. I know Legs has some he wants to share. I think we're going to talk about the Oakland, my favorite player I've watched in a long time in college hoop, man. We'll get to him. Is it Gokul? Is that his name?
I can't wait to talk about that game, man. I can't wait to talk about that. Every year a game will grab me on the first day. It just has me on the edge of my seat. That one had me on the edge of my seat. By the way, you mentioned your four favorite teams. We're also talking about your two favorite players, Nikola Jokic and Isaiah Hartenstein.
That's right, baby.
We're talking about those two guys too. This is bonus today. It's a bonus for Adam.
This is like my
one-stop shopping for everything Adam loves in the NBA right here.
That's 100% right. Then, of course, later on in the week, Who Won the Week? We are presented, as always, by DraftKings Sportsbook. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. All right, since we have a packed show here, Legs, let's get into it. The Nuggets defeat the Knicks last night, 113-100. Knicks on the end of a long road trip, although they did have 2 days off coming into this one. No OG Anunoby, of course, still Julius Randle out. This was a good game. Back and forth. I thought both teams grinded, but Michael Porter Jr. was the story. 31 points, 8 rebounds, and 13 of 16 shooting, 3 of 6 from the three-point line. It's funny, I say Michael Porter's the story. Jokic had a 30-point triple-double, but I mean, what else is new? But Michael Porter last night just shooting the ball so extremely well, playing with confidence. That's what stood out to me. Where do you want to start with this, Legs?
Yeah, let's start right with the front court with those two guys. Aaron Gordon, who always, even on a night when statistically he wasn't huge, his imprints all over the game. So just looking at Porter and Jokic, though, combined, 25 for 39 from the field, 61 points, 22 rebounds, and they combined for 11 assists. And Michael Porter Jr. had none of those, but it doesn't matter. When the other guy has 11, you could just say we combined for 11 assists. It's like anybody that played with Wilt that night in Hershey can say they combined for 105 points. It's the way it is. So he combined for 11 assists. But look, Michael Porter Jr. was the story of the game. And he's been really a big story in the league and a big story for the Nuggets since the All-Star break and really most of the season. But the role he's on right now, and he did it every which way. His shooting stroke is just absolutely beautiful. And right now, every single time he rises up, you're shocked if it doesn't go in. But he did it every way. Running the floor, slashing, finishing in transition. Had a highlight reel dunk that, it was a super entertaining play. Right. I mean, he did it. He did it every way that you can imagine. And if you're the Knicks, like, all right, you expect you're going to get that kind of game out of Jokic. He does it all the time. Jamal Murray had a good game. He didn't shoot particularly well. 9 for 20 is not horrible, but it wasn't one of his best games. But he was there all night. So what you can't really make up for if you're Tom Thibodeau and the Knicks is Michael Porter Jr. having this kind of night against you. You can't, and that goes for any team that plays the Nuggets. Michael Porter Jr. is in that kind of a rhythm where he's that aggressive, also looking for his shots. And the ball just kept finding him every single trip. When he had any space, the ball was in his hands. And that's the way the Nuggets play. If he's playing like this, Adam, good luck. I don't care who you are. You're playing the Nuggets, and Michael Porter Jr. gets into this kind of rhythm on a night when Jokic, has his normal great game. I don't know what you're supposed to do about it. So for me, that was the difference maker. That was the separation between the two teams. Michael Porter Jr. was absolutely sensational.
So Michael Porter's always been a good shooter. And if you think about the Nuggets, they have their offense is the two-man game, Murray, Jokic, pick and roll. Aaron Gordon and the dunker. Okay, he has gravity along the baseline that opens up the paint, keeps the paint open, and then two shooters in the corner. But the difference between KCP and Michael Porter is KCP can grab the handoff or pick and roll and turn the corner, elevate from the mid-range or what have you. Michael Porter, really over the last year and a half, since his third back surgery, has been mostly a stationary player. He'll cut here, but he's not putting the ball on the floor. Last night, and really this season, but especially since the All-Star break, he's putting the ball on the floor in a lot more dynamic ways. And that's the difference. You don't get to 31 points too often on just catch and shoot, standing out at the perimeter. Being able to put it on the floor and get to the rim, that play off the backboard required a little bit of creativity, and he has that in his game. In fact, he used to be a very creative scorer. But with the Nuggets over the last year and a half, he has been less dynamic. I feel the big story for the Nuggets since the All-Star break, one of the big stories, is Michael Porter is becoming more dynamic within the confines of his role. And that's what separates. That's what you're talking about, is that's where you get beat, is he's doing more than just the floor spacing role.
And here's one of the things I love about Michael Porter Jr. and I've really been noticing this season. I love the fact that he is as patient as he is on some nights when he doesn't get a lot of touches or good looks early in the game. I thought earlier in his career that really affected him on the other end. And it not that he was like selfish about it. It just, he didn't feel involved in the game. And so as a result, you weren't getting maybe max effort defensively, and he was picked on a lot. And teams targeted him, particularly if you could put him in a pick and roll. It was really ugly early in his career. And even now, look, he has, right now he's hot, so the ball's finding him, but he'll still go stretches in the game where it's not really about him when he's out there because of how good their other starters are, and they get rolling in a different way. And he doesn't disengage at all anymore. I mean, and that's like a sign of maturity. He stays ready. And then at some point he'll get that 3 or 4 shots in a short period of time. And he's so ready when it happens. He's mentally ready when he gets those opportunities. And I don't think that he was maybe a couple of years ago. So I think that's a great sign of growth on the part of Michael Porter Jr. He's also, he never really gets probably enough credit for how much he has improved his tough rebounding.
Yeah.
Michael Porter Jr., his first couple years in the league, he was getting balls taken out of his hands, or 50-50 balls he didn't come up with. And, part of it is, you add strength as you mature as a man. Like, he just got stronger. He had better strength conditioning he's ever been exposed to. So there's no doubt he didn't necessarily add a ton of bulk, but he gets wiry stronger. But it's also a mentality about what your team needs from you. They need the small forward to go grab those 6-8 rebounds. And on a given night, give me 10. And it's some tough ones in traffic where you got to elevate and go up and secure the rebound on a good defensive possession. He's doing his share. And that was not necessarily the case early in his career. So I'm going to give him credit for that too. He just played a great game last night, man. Like, he just looked so much more accomplished as a player than like what his resume would dictate to this point. And that's how he's been playing for a long stretch now. And it's really kind of fun to watch. And it just, when he plays this way, Adam, I talk about their core continuity all the time with their starters. Like, it's so glaring how much better it is for the Denver Nuggets than any team in the league when those guys are out there in rhythm and finding the right guy every time and moving the ball the way it's supposed to. And it's so simple the way they attack you. There's no over dribbling. There's no wasted motion. There's no clear outs where guys stand. Everything is purposeful. It's just beautiful. And I felt like I saw a lot of that last night. And look, I'm describing this great game by the Nuggets, and the Knicks were in it, man. So give the Knicks credit, because that's kind of who they are. They're up for an alley fight. And I've said repeatedly, they play as hard or harder than their opponent as consistently as any team in this league. And they played hard again last night. They just didn't have enough, and they didn't have enough answers to stop Denver, particularly Jokic, who got what he wanted when he needed to in the fourth quarter.
There's no question. I mean, the Knicks remind me of the Miami Heat in that way, in that you feel like you're dominating them, and you look up and you're up 7 points in the fourth, and you think, man, you feel like you should be up 20 with how, tough shot making or what have you, but they always stay right there. They always make you earn it. And the Knicks did that last night. Denver built, I think, a 10-point lead going into the fourth quarter, 12-point lead going into the fourth quarter. The Knicks immediately 12-2 run in like 3 minutes. They just stay connected. They wait for their opportunity. But I want to stay on the Nuggets here for a second and on Michael Porter. Yeah. Here's what's so exciting about the Nuggets. And you always look at them last year. Okay, is it the same team? Whatever. Even the starting lineup, I think they were so good last year. It's hard to imagine, okay, how can they be better? Here's where I think they're better. And it comes back to Porter. Your offense being the two-man game. Aaron Gordon is a very good connector. He can bring the ball up the court, initiate the offense, and that allows Murray and Jokic to have the two-man game off ball and do some different stuff to set up the play. But when you run that and you kick it out, the two-man game alone gets a lot of looks. AG at the rim, kick out to the corners, or those two guys scoring. But when you don't get something and you kick it out to a Michael Porter, and he has a quarter step advantage, not enough to get a shot off, but he has a little bit of an advantage because you scrambled the defense a little bit. Him being able to attack closeouts, and not just attack one dribble score, but attack and now make the extra play. What is the next play on that? That keeps the defense in cycle. So the two-man game, if you oftentimes creates a full step advantage and now it's a score, but when it only creates a quarter or half step advantage and the other guys have to play off of that, Porter, Gordon, and to a little bit of an extent KCP, those guys are now more capable than ever at doing that. So you're getting, even when you get a stop in that initial action that is so tough, you're playing in rotation against guys who know how to take advantage of it. And Michael Porter in particular, that's why what he did last night and what he's been doing since the All-Star break is so encouraging to me, is it's keeping the offense moving and turning a quarter step advantage into a two-step advantage. And that's what Denver is doing right now.
That's awesome, man. Well said. That's a great description of it. I want to switch to another guy that you just briefly mentioned. And I see a lot of people in this chat are giving him love, and they should. Talk about KCP for a second. And look, and my buddy JJ Redick, he said it on a broadcast recently of one of their games, like he's putting him down first team all league defense. He's definitely
I'm so glad to hear that, by the way. That's the first person outside of Denver, JJ Redick. It was last week, I think. The first person I heard say that. And I watch him all year. Defense is quiet. Somebody has to kind of point it out to you, but KCP is always holding star and all-star caliber players below their averages, and it's quiet, right? Because it's the absence of something doesn't stand out. So yeah. I'm glad we're starting this.
Yeah, we absolutely should. And JJ probably got it out there first. I've been watching him all year, kind of thinking the same thing. And then last night, I really wanted to see this game because I wanted to see the Brunson and Murray matchup and KCP Brunson matchup. And here's the thing, like Jalen Brunson last night, if you didn't see the game, you just woke up, looked at the box score, 26 points, one shot under 50%. So that's a decent night for a guard in this league. 9 assists, no turnovers. You go, wow, man, Jalen Brunson, another all-star caliber night. And you know what? Statistically, yes. But when you watch the game, which I did every single possession, absolutely, there was no real impact that Brunson was having on the game the way he does some nights where he carries the game. He's controlling the game. And he does it on a level some nights that's on par with the very best guys in this league, with the Luka Doncic's of the world, with the Jokic's of the world. That's the extent to which Brunson some nights controls the game. And last night, he had a good night statistically, because he's a high-volume shooter from the point guard spot. It was not impactful. He was not controlling the game. So that's possession after possession. The KCP is on him, and the relentlessness, right? The just absolute want to go fight over screens, meet him on the other side, to pick him up at half court, to bump him a little bit, to ride his hip as he's going to the rim. And Brunson is so strong. You can't really get him off balance, but you can at least affect him a little bit when he goes to shoot the ball inside of 8 feet, because he's not a very big guy and he doesn't get off the ground very high. So if you are just tenacious and you can withstand like his bump he's going to give you with the shoulder and all that stuff he's giving you, and just be in the play at the end to extend, you can affect Jalen Brunson's finishes inside 8 feet. But it takes a special quality defender to want to do it. KCP was all over that last night. So even though Brunson had a normal night by his standards, statistically, that was not a Jalen Brunson game we watched last night.
Right. And obviously he's fighting uphill. You're on the road against, the reigning champs, but I like that you bring up the KCP part of this. Here's how KCP, and we're going to talk about another guy who's like this, Jalen Suggs, in the next segment. KCP, he's so fun to watch. If you ever get to sit closely at a game and just watch him, because the camera's not always on him, right? Especially defensively. He's not just reacting to plays on defense. He's looking around at all times. He's using his peripheral vision. At all times, he's looking and anticipating what's about to happen. And you could just see him prepare his body for a screen that's coming and set it up with a little move. He is so one step defensively, he's ahead of whatever's coming next. And that's the focus it takes, because players like Brunson, if you're reacting, there's no way you can react as quickly as Brunson is hesitating and back cutting and doing all that stuff. He's so active. But KCP is on top of it. He anticipates every possibility. And you just see his mind on defenses. It's like a guy on Adderall. He's so focused in on what is happening that he sees all angles. And that's what's impressive to me.
And look, with the greatness of Jokic, the greatness of Murray, who's proven it, the ascending greatness of Michael Porter Jr., the way Aaron Gordon has played for this team, like you're going to be that guy that's kind of lost in the shuffle because you're not going to have a ton of big scoring nights, but he completes them. He completes that starting five in such a beautiful way because of the way that he plays, the way he's willing to play offensively. And then regardless, like last night, how many shots did he take? He took 5 shots, man, in 37 minutes. And at no point did it affect his energy level defensively. Yeah. You know what I mean? He's a perfect piece to plug in with those other 4 guys. So I was just super impressed. It was a fun game to watch because of how hard the Knicks play. That just made it fun for me. And it was a physical game, and I love watching that. I got to ask you a question, though, because one of the reasons I was so into this game was I was like, okay, I want to see Brunson and Murray, and here's why. A couple days ago, I got asked a question. I was supposed to do this on TV, and the night before, they'll email you some questions that they're talking about, and it was going to be on First Take, and it was, how many point guards would you take ahead of Jalen Brunson in the league? And I thought to myself, without looking at the list and going down team by team, I thought I was going to probably come up with like 6 or 7. And then I started going down team by team. And guess what? I only had 2.
Really?
That immediately, like, no hesitation.
Okay.
And then I had 2 or 3 where now we're going to start talking about it. So let me just go over this with you. And then I want to ask you a question about these 2 guys, comparing them specifically, Brunson and Murray. But the 2 I had immediately, and I said, yes, definitely I've taken them. It's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic.
By the way, Jalen Brunson has it's funny because those 3 guys have completely different bodies. Those 3 guys actually have remarkably similar games. And, Shai, he's so long, but he always has like one extra pivot in him. And so whatever way you go, then he pivots around it. Brunson's the same way. He always has an extra pivot to get around a defender. And yet their bodies are completely different.
Completely agree with that. So they were the 2 guys that jumped out at me right away. And then you start thinking, okay, because Curry obviously is out there. But I'm going, do you really view him as a point guard? I don't know that I do view Steph Curry as a point guard. Like he gives the ball up so early in every possession, and most of what he does is off the ball. So I guess technically he is. And if he is, then obviously I'm picking Steph Curry too. Yeah. And now you start, so that's 3. And then the next guy on the list for me was Jamal Murray. And I'm looking at these 2 players last night, and I'm saying to myself, all right, who do you think would be more likely to replicate the other's success? And let me finish the question. If you put Jalen Brunson and replace Jamal Murray with Jalen Brunson on the Nuggets as currently constructed and as currently constructed last season, is that team more likely to win a championship with Jalen Brunson replacing Murray, or is Jamal Murray more likely to replicate what Jalen Brunson is doing to carry the Knicks? And that was the fascinating question to me in watching these guys last night. Because I know Murray, Bubble Murray, and all that, and he went off, but I think there's a component to the physicality of all this. Like Jamal Murray, maybe he wouldn't even think the game that way. To have that kind of usage and take 20 to 25 shots every single night and be counting on really to get 30 for your team to keep them in the hunt, surrounded by like these alley fighters, right? That the Knicks have. Or is it more likely you would have already had a championship if Brunson was playing point guard for the Nuggets last year and playing point guard for the Nuggets right now? Because that's part of my evaluation of Brunson is, well, let's put him in a system like that with a player like that. Now what do you have? Like, so what do you think? Give me your thoughts on those 2 guys switching teams. I'm just curious.
Oh, I'm more interested, to be honest, in your answer to this, but I will give you mine. It's tough because I think neither one can do what the other one does. This is my answer. I think that Murray is more suited to what he does in the postseason than what Jalen Brunson is, and elevates Denver's ceiling more than if you were to swap them the other way. But I think that there's a different challenge. The NBA, what makes it fascinating is it's almost two different challenges. It's a regular season challenge and then a postseason challenge, and they're kind of different. And I think that Jalen Brunson, Murray has never proven to be able to be consistent the way Jalen Brunson has over 82 games. And you're right with the volume. And the closest facsimile we have to this is Denver's bench. Michael Malone's philosophy for all the Jokic era has been, okay, we're going to put Murray on the bench, and now you carry that unit. And maybe we'll give you one other starter. We'll give you a Michael Porter. We'll give you a KCP. We'll give you one here or there. But get that unit organized and run it. And it's always been terrible. It's never, including last night when the Knicks went on a 12-2 run. Murray's on the court for all of that and not getting him, Deuce McBride is locking him down in the post and these different things. So my answer, it's a bit of a cop-out, but I honestly think Jalen Brunson is more suited to the role he is in. Murray is more suited into the role that he is in. And if you swapped them, both sides would be worse.
That's an interesting answer. I didn't expect you to go there. I think you'd more likely get a similar result if Brunson was playing for the Nuggets as what the Nuggets did a year ago and what they're going to potentially do this year, than the Knicks kind of, being where they are and looking the way they look with Jamal Murray playing that kind of role in New York with that specific team, and what you would be asked to do offensively every night, and the extent to which you control the game and do it efficiently, and just be a guy that there's no answer for, really, because that's who Brunson has become. Now, he wasn't last night. He was good, but he certainly wasn't great. He didn't control that game the way Jokic did, and that's a different comparison. But I don't know, it just kind of struck me because I want to try to figure out where I view Jalen Brunson and in the pecking order in the league with point guards. So first, before we move on to the next game, just give me your thoughts on what I said about looking at the 30 point guards, whoever that may be on a particular team. And I see people in here they have different opinions on what a point guard looks like. One guy's like, I don't know if Luka's a point guard. Really? Luka Doncic brings the ball up the floor every single possession. He's on the court. He controls that's a point guard. You could even make an argument. Honestly, LeBron James is a point guard, truthfully. I mean, that's how he plays, right?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to, for the purposes of this conversation, Luka is listed as a guard. I mean, LeBron's a forward.
Here's one other thing about the Jamal Murray component of this. Would it be better for the Nuggets if he played like Jalen Brunson plays? No. There's a piece of this that is, when you have Jokic on the team, the best thing you can do to initiate an action is give the ball to Jokic and then play off of it. And that requires a level of sacrifice. Now, I think Murray takes his foot off the gas. Murray's an interesting guy. I've said this before. I think he honestly needs, some guys can make competition out of anything, no matter how low or high the stakes are. Some guys need the stakes to be high because they need to feel it. I've compared it in the past to the climbers that climb without ropes, guys that climb in Yellowstone, climb El Capitan with no harness, no anything, just because they need the adrenaline of, I might die if I fall off. That's Murray. He needs that elevated intensity. And then when he gets there, it's just, he's as good as anyone. But I think there's an element of sacrifice in his game that's underappreciated because he plays with Jokic, that he's taking fewer shots and doing less. So that's one thing that I think you have to account for when you analyze Jamal Murray.
Okay, last thing on this. Is there any other point guard that I left out that you think needs to be in there? And follow it out with this. At this stage of his career, would you take Jalen Brunson over Damian Lillard?
Look, man, I get so much hate on this show every time I say something negative about another player. But for me, Damian Lillard has a lot to prove, for me personally. So yeah, for me, consider me a Damian Lillard skeptic more so than most at the moment.
Yeah, I think I would agree. I think there's just a component to the way Jalen Brunson operates and how in control he is of manipulating the defense to get what he needs to get. That's really, really special, man. It's actually incredible if you think we're even talking about this with Jalen Brunson and where he was when he came out of Nova and what people projected him to be, and then to be people wondering if they overpaid him when he took that contract with the Knicks. People were freaking out because he was the one big free agent signing that summer because everybody got money to stay with their own team. He's the one guy that changed teams, and people were freaking out about the amount of money they gave him, and he's going to get twice as much in his next deal.
Yeah. It's a really tough one, man. It's a really tough one and an interesting one. Staying on this game real quick, Jokic's highlight reel from last game, it's about as good as you're going to get from a single game, single player highlight reel. I think he had 7 passes that should have been on SportsCenter's top 10. He kind of had, this game was very physical. Not a lot of foul calls in it, both ways, though I don't think it was unfairly officiated. But Jokic just sort of had this resolute. I mean, there's a lot of looking at the official and then shaking his head and just saying whatever. And he finishes with 30, 14, and 11 with 12 different highlights. What do you were texting me last night about his game in particular because it really just stands out. And I'm curious what you think about. I've been so high on Jokic for so long that I'm not the guy to say this, but when I watch him, I just go, I don't like to compare all-time greats, but there's this level that is like, if you're above that threshold, let's stop quantifying it because it's near perfection. And he's in that level. It's near perfect the way he plays.
I'll describe it this way. And I'm not even making this up. This is kind of what happens to me some nights when I watch them and I'm really watching the whole game and tuned in like I was last night. He's the only player in the league that I watch that he makes me sometimes chuckle.
Yeah.
I chuckle to myself watching a game sitting on my sofa because I'm like, come on, man. Like, are you serious with that? Like the move is it looks so simple when he does it. And you know how difficult it is with the amount of traffic he's got in front of him and the way that his footwork and his pivoting. And I've talked about this before, the way he reads leverage and the way he can spin out exactly when he needs to in the right direction and shoot a ball that soft as he's coming out of the turn without making eye contact on the rim yet. It's the most mind-boggling thing to me how soft and delicately he gets the ball up on the rim when he hasn't made eye contact yet with the target because he's coming out of a spin or whatever it may be. And dudes are just jumping and flailing at the ball and they can't get it. And it's like he's clowning them in a way that if that were like Luka would be laughing all the way down the court, but that's not like who Jokic is. So he just runs back with his little shuffle to the other end of the floor. Then he goes and sits on the bench and takes his little tiny sips of orange Gatorade when he takes like 8 sips in a row of the little Gatorade. I'm just watching him and I'm like, he looks like a little kid sitting over there at like a rec league game. Give him some orange slices like they used to give the kids. Like what? And then he just goes back in and tortures people again. His entire approach to it with the absolute zero wasted energy or effort. Everything he does has a specific purpose. He's the only player in the league that I can say that about. And that is what makes him as great as he is. So I agree with you. Unfortunately for him, he makes these nights look so mundane that I'm not sure that everybody really, truly appreciates what he's doing.
Yeah. It's funny how you're right. Cause I think he played that game in second gear, and puts up that crazy stat line and you just watch it. He never looked like he was out of breath.
By the way, I'm going to add something here. By the way, last night, and he complains some, nowhere near as much as I could list 10 guys in the league right now that drive me nuts the way they complain on contact. Last night, I felt there was 3 or 4 plays in the first half. He got absolutely mauled and didn't get the calls. So that's another 6 free throws, easily 6, 8 free throws. He's just getting clawed at. I mean, there's a reason he always has those scratches on his arms. And he didn't really react to it last night. I liked, he might give a little shoulder shrug, but then he was, running back on defense, getting back into play, not letting it become some multi-possession distraction.
So my thing on that is it's almost playoff time. In the playoffs, you can't fight the officials. It's going to be a tougher whistle. You have to just keep going. I honestly think Yoke this time of year starts to try to mentally prepare for the playoffs. I'd expect him to start taking more threes here in the next 10 games or so, just because in the playoffs, he's going to need his 3 ball and he doesn't like to take it during the regular season too much. Stop complaining to officials. That's what I expect, because I think he's starting to get his mind, because there are times throughout the course of the year where he's complaining a lot to officials. But right now, I think he locks in. It's something I notice with him every single year. And how he goes. By the way, let's just talk real quickly about the one pass. Josh Hart's a great defender. The Knicks are a smart team. They have a smart scheme. Yoke's got the ball in the right elbow. He sees Josh Hart getting ready, playing the cat and mouse. Do I go to double? Do I not? He's staying over there. Yoke knows as soon as he puts the ball on the floor, he's going to fully commit to the double. Dribbles it one time as if he doesn't. Like he looks, turns his head back so he's not looking, dribbles it, knows that Hart's coming, and then just throws the no-look pass. And it's one of those things where you got a smart team, a smart defender, and Jokic is like setting traps on him blindly, just knowing if I dribble here, he's going to come, and I throw it over my head to Aaron Gordon, it's a dunk. It's just his level of anticipation and intuition about how everything triggers the next thing is just off the charts.
Well, he controls people with his eyes. LeBron and Luka are the only two players that do it on that level. All three of those guys, they manipulate defenders with their eyes, knowing ultimately how it's going to play out. There's a greatness to it because they do have the ability to understand if you react the way you're supposed to react defensively, he's going to get what he wants because he's 2 steps ahead of that mentally. Like sometimes it might not be there because the defender didn't react the way he was supposed to. Like if he knew how to play team defense, he wouldn't have been in that spot. And maybe it's a turnover, deflected pass because he's supposed to react a different way. And that's what Jokic is expecting. So I agree. By the way, favorite play of the game last night, without question, though, was the open court Aaron Gordon spin in transition up the left wing. When he caught the ball, it spun between 2 guys and Josh Hart was back. And then I was hoping he was going to have enough in the tank to finish that off with like a hammer. But he kind of just got to the front of the rim and basically laid it in more or less because he came out of that and where he had to jump at that point because he had picked the ball up when he spun, he was too far out to really get hit because that would have been he spins out of that and two hand, dunks that touching his shoulder blades and then yaks like that. That play is going to be the play of the night that everybody's going to be talking about today. But he didn't quite have the juice left to finish it that way. But the footwork and the athleticism and the spin to do that in transition, to split those 2 guys and get to the rim was just beautiful.
Aaron Gordon has such underrated hands. He catches everything. Part of Yoke loves it because it's like he can throw these crazy passes to him and he'll catch it and finish it. And then he has incredible balance. Zion Williamson maybe has the greatest balance of any big I've ever seen because he can put his body at 45 degrees. You look like he's about to tip over and then he jumps and dunks it. Aaron Gordon has the same thing. And that play you're talking about, the footwork to spin, be so off balance, but still explode to the rim and almost dunk it it's a very unique type of athleticism. It's balance and control mixed with incredible strength. It's crazy to watch. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, I want to get to the other game that we found to be the most interesting one from the night. That is the Magic stomping the Pelicans, a pretty impressive one, especially defensively, and the Magic themselves have been impressive since the All-Star break. So we'll get to that on the other side. But first, let's tell you about our sponsors today. First, Game Time. It's Friday. You're making plans for the weekend. You want to see what's going on in your neck of the woods. So you hop on the Game Time app and you can just peruse sporting events. What do we have going on? Concerts. What do we have going on? Festivals. What do we have going on? And you can buy your tickets right there on the Game Time app, knowing that you're going to get the best deals, the best prices. They have the zone deals. They have the flash deals. They have the last minute tickets. They have easy to find and buy tickets for every type of event. You can view all the seats in the venue right on your phone. Say, okay, what's this going to look like if I'm there? And they have that lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, etc. All of those things. They also have my favorite feature, the all-in pricing, little button on the front screen where you click it and it'll show you what your checkout price is. No hidden fees, no extra taxes and everything else. It tells you that's your final price. So when you go to checkout, nothing changes. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code ALLNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem your code with ALLNBA for $20 off. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Also want to tell you guys about DraftKings Sportsbook. The thrill and excitement of March Madness is here. Or March Mania is here. DraftKings Sportsbook, one of America's top-rated sportsbook apps, is giving new customers a shot to turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets with any college basketball bet. I'm not sure how much money you could have made betting on Oakland, which, by the way, is not in Oakland, California, which we found out last night. Oakland beating Kentucky. I think you could have made a pretty penny if you would have put money down on that one. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code ALLNBA. New customers can get $5 or can bet $5 to get $150 instantly in bonus bets only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code ALLNBA. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/promos for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources.
Back here, segment 2, the All NBA show. If you're watching live, make sure to throw us a like right now. Leave a comment in the live chat. If you're watching it late, leave a comment below. Let us know what you think of the show. Any questions or topics you want to get us to. We always check the comments, so we'll see what you're saying. In the comments right now, speaking of comments, I see this one here from Hustler Inc. Great name. Luka dropped 37 on Denver Nuggets like it was normal. Everyone was talking about Kyrie. We just did a whole segment. Jokic had 30, 14, and 11, and we spent the first two parts of that talking about MPJ. It is the standard of great players. It's fun, Legs, covering Denver, a team that had never won a championship and then getting over the hump and winning it. It's been fun to watch this. Why don't people give Jokic the respect he deserves? And then once you win the title, all of a sudden, all the respect is there. Everybody catches up. And whether that's fair or not, I don't know. But I will say, when you see things like this, like, hey, Luka, 37-point triple-double, that's normal. That's his standard. That's what he does. It doesn't mean it's not incredibly impressive, but we could talk about it every single night. So that is sort of the standard. But you know what? Luka leads a team to a championship this summer or this June. You better believe next year the praise will come for him. It'll be universally accepted. All the respect and recognition is due. I think the same thing for Shea. Shea, undeniable how great he has been. And when people get upset, you're doubting. Trust me, you win the title, everything changes, and he'll have the respect. That's just the standard, and I actually think it's a good standard. Sports are about winning, so I like it. Let's get to this next game. Orlando Magic beat the Pelicans 121-106. The Magic, this is a matchup of the two best defenses since the All-Star break, but the Magic put up 121. What stood out to you about this one?
This was one of the most impressive games I've seen Orlando play all year for a couple of reasons. One, New Orleans is on a roll right now. They're getting a lot of attention, a lot of talk. So this is why I was super excited for this game. And the Magic's defense physically absolutely controlled that game. And here's what's impressive. You have a game, and there's a lot of guys that played in this game that are capable of having big scoring nights. And there's only two guys in the game that really were significantly above normal. Like they had great games. Troy Murphy and Jalen Suggs. They were the only two guys. So the fact that the Magic were able to do this and really, really control this game where they were not threatened really at all, in winning the game and not get huge nights out of Banchero, Franz Wagner. They didn't really, torch anybody from the 3-point. They didn't go off for 20 made threes. It was nothing extraordinary offensively to get 121 points and hold them to 106. And I just thought that they were into people, and they never really, Zion, he's been playing great. It's like a different style for him. And I'm not necessarily sure that that's the best way for the Pelicans to be a threat the way that he's playing. I don't know, but last night I was kind of like, okay, let's I'm gonna see what Zion's got against this team, and they've got some bodies they can put on him, and they've got some length, and they got some switchability. And Zion had an okay game. He had 8 for 15, 20 points, not a terrible game. It's kind of what I said about Brunson. Statistically fine, no imprint. There was not your fingerprints all over this thing. Man, you are absolutely affecting the needle here. Zion didn't have that kind of game, and I don't necessarily say that as a criticism of him. That's a credit to the way the Magic played defensively. Right. And look, we look up, Adam, and this has been going on all year, man. And they're not going anywhere. They're 70 games in. This is what it's going to be. They are the 4 seed in the Eastern Conference. They are a half a game up on the Knicks. Can they hold the Knicks off? It's going to be interesting to see, because the Knicks, there's still question marks about, are they ever going to be fully healthy? And even Brunson playing with that thumb on his right hand, you just worry about that taking another significant hit. And an Obi, back out. So waiting on Randall. I don't know if they're going to get healthy. The Orlando Magic have a really good chance to host a first-round playoff series. It's incredible going into the year that roster would be able to do that. So these were two teams playing well, kind of in the same spot respectively in their conferences, and it was absolutely one-sided. I just thought the Orlando Magic were very efficient offensively. It was super well balanced. Suggs was great. If you get 22 out of him and shoot the ball that way, that's a bonus. That's a bonus, right? If you're going to get that out of him, now you're like, okay, this is going to be interesting, whoever they get in the playoffs. But it was super impressive, and they've been impressive all year. But when you see a team this late in the year play another team that's hot, that's healthy, and they come in and they don't really do the things that they're capable of doing offensively because of your defense, kudos to the Magic.
I love this team. We've been doing this show long enough, Legs. You probably see the types of players and teams that I really am drawn to. It doesn't necessarily mean it's the best style, but it's the ones that I'm most drawn to, and that is teams that have harmony. They have connection. It's okay. All these guys contribute. When you talk about last night, it wasn't a standout performance from any one guy, even though Banchero has a triple-double, and you had guys that played really, really well on that side. But it was a team effort, and it's the connected pieces there. I saw somebody in the chat says Orlando has a lot of dogs on that team. Absolutely, they have a lot of dogs, and they all seem to be rowing and pulling in the same direction. They have the third best record coming out of the All-Star break. They are 13-3, I believe. 12-3. 12-3 coming out of the All-Star break. Only the Nuggets and Celtics have a better record since the All-Star break, and I feel like that's meaningful. This is the home stretch. Teams kind of turn it up a little bit. And then defensively, Jalen Suggs is the guy I want to start. There's two guys that I really want to go in on, and one is Suggs and the other one is Jonathan Isaac. But Suggs, every time we talk Magic, I just rave about this guy because I say he's the ultimate winning plays player in the NBA right now. But last night he made his shots, 3 of 8 from 3, 7 of 14. He's been making them since the All-Star break. Let me see. I have his numbers. He's averaging 13 points a game on 56% shooting, 47% from 3. But the guy makes every hustle play too and every defensive play. He might be one of the best perimeter defenders in all of the NBA, on top of being sort of the soul of this team. Every team has a guy that kind of makes up the soul. I think he's the soul of this team with the way he plays.
He also, I completely agree with you. I love watching him play because, he just absolutely thrives on the defensive end of the floor. It gets him going. It gets their team going. To have any guy like that in your roster is a bonus. When he's also one of your top offensive players, that's a bonus because he gives it every single night. He also had a play last night, man, where he had a two-handed dunk last night on Valanciunas when he came along the baseline, caught a pass, and he went off 2 feet, and he put it behind his head, and he got drilled in the face by Valanciunas' arm, went right between his arms, hit him in the head. He still finished the dunk, kind of hung on the rim for a second, swung around a little bit, dropped, and showed all this emotion. It was just like a powerful play for your team. They have like a smaller guy go in there and pound on the center for the other team. It kind of showed you where the Magic were emotionally last night. And I think they're where they are every night. Yeah. He just kept going. That's the thing. It was one of those plays where he just hung in the air longer than I thought possible. And they had the emotional investment last night. And I'm not going to say the Pelicans didn't, but there was definitely an edge the Magic played with last night that the Pelicans couldn't match.
Yeah, undoubtedly. And Suggs in particular. Here's what's another interesting thing about Suggs. Players have a personality to their emotion. Like, I think Pat Beverly has a trollish personality to his behavior, right? Like, there's something where he's just trying to get under your skin. Russell Westbrook has almost an anger to the way he plays, an angry mood to it. Jalen Suggs plays with 110% intensity at all times, and yet it's somehow joyful. He has what I would call joyful competitive energy. And that's very rare for a guy that is like a pest and has that, but he's almost like diving on the floor and everything else with a smile. I don't know how to explain it, but it's a very infectious, I feel, intensity that he plays with. That's very unique.
No, I agree. I agree. And it's not always the easiest balance to strike, right? Yeah. It's not. It's like sometimes it's like one or the other. Sometimes we think guys are too stoic. Sometimes guys are overly emotional, right? Yep. Some guys don't look like, look at Chet Holmgren. I joke all the time. Like, I just want to ask him, are you having fun, Chet? Because you never change your, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but just having fun.
You're right. Personality.
Right? But Suggs is able to bring a little bit of all of that, man. He can have the emotion, the extroverted emotion. He can have the stoic personality when he has to. He can play with joy and fun and celebrate in the moment, man, with youthful exuberance. Like he brings all of that. I agree. That's a good description of him.
Well, what I would say is with angry intensity, there's a level of volatility to it, right? A guy he's so wired up, but that he might make dumb plays or technical foul or this or that because he's riding these highs and lows so crazily. He manages to have insane intensity without volatility. That's how I would describe it. There's no volatility to his game despite being turned up to 11 at all times. And that's one of the reasons I love him. The other guy, Jonathan Isaac, I mean, everybody knows the story with him. Phenomenal player, so much upside, but the injuries. This guy, you talk about number one defense. He's obviously been healthy here for a stretch here. You talk about number one defense. This guy's as impactful as the Herb Jones and Jaden, all those guys, maybe even more, honestly, maybe even more so with the length that he provides. And the fact that he has now been, I'm putting air quotes here, reduced to being a bit player coming off the bench. He's so insanely impactful in that limited role. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 1 block. That's a little bit of everything, and it doesn't even tell the story of how this guy shuts down the court when he's on it. On-ball defender, help side defender at the same time, and just so impactful at that role.
And I think what we're seeing now in Jonathan Isaac, look, he's 26 years old. It got here quickly, right? Because of all the injuries. It got here quickly. He's 26. Not that that's an old player, but a guy like Jonathan Isaac, it seems like he should be like 23. He's 26 years old. So I think now what he has found is his footing, Adam, in the league and what it's going to be, which is going to be a super impactful rotational player on good teams, whether that's Orlando or somewhere else in the future. He is going to be coveted because of his defensive ability and length. He's 6'10", and his wingspan is well over 7 feet, and he's got great lateral quickness. And look, offensively, the numbers aren't mind-blowing, but here's what I like. If you're going to play that role, and that means you're going to have limited offensive opportunities, right, which he does, well, then can you be efficient in that? Not everybody can when you're a wing player.
Right.
In the month of March, he's averaging 16 minutes a game. The guy is shooting 65% from the field, 60% from the three-point line, 88% from the foul line, averaging 9 points a game. So you know how hard it is to play 16 minutes as a wing and average 9 points and have anything like those shooting splits? It just doesn't happen. While, by the way, making your true impact felt defensively. So right. I think he has found what his lane is going to be in this league. I don't think he's going to have a whole lot more upside offensively. It's going to be, if it is, it's because he went to a bad team and he's got more opportunities and never to be heard from again and never see the postseason. I think he's the kind of guy that's going to be targeted by good teams going forward. That a rotational wing with great length that can defend a lot of different guys and is selective and smart offensively. That's who he is. And guess what? Guys like that can make a lot of money in this league.
Well, the number 1 pick coming up here, number 1 guy in the high school class, Cooper Flagg, kind of has a Jonathan Isaac game, just to show you how valuable of a skill set that is. He's kind of a Jonathan Isaac type player, even with this reduced, injuries and everything with him. So I just love his game. And it's one of the strengths of the Orlando Magic. Mosley, who's been a phenomenal coach for them. I actually love watching him coach. He's such an intense coach, communicating and connecting with his guys while being intense on the sideline. He has a tough job coming up in the postseason because I think one of the big strengths for Orlando is their bench, is their depth. And of course, depth is a double-edged sword, and especially in the playoffs, it's like, okay, well, how do I get to my best lineups? What's my best rotation? And that'll be interesting to monitor because they definitely have great starters, but their bench and their depth and their staggered lineups is what makes them. Real quickly on this other side, the Pelicans, it was an off night for them. They were due one. They've been phenomenal since the All-Star break as well. But Brandon Ingram goes down in this game. He's going to be out for 2 weeks. Fortunately, they avoided anything crazy. There wasn't a crazy injury when you thought maybe there could be a tear or something. Nothing like that, but it was 2 weeks before being reevaluated. There's only 3.5 weeks in the season. It's possible he's out all the way until the break. The one silver lining is that Trey Murphy is making a leap right now. I don't know if anybody's paying attention, but he had 21 points last night. He's been just an incredible volume scorer. He's probably going to start and play really well in that role. Might even give the Pelicans a slight different look that's fresh or something. But over time, they're going to need Brandon Ingram. So what do you make of that injury, and what do you make of the Pelicans now that they're going to have to finish the year without him?
Yeah, tough time of the year to, for something like that to happen to him. And, they had nice little run of health here collectively, and all three of those guys have been banged up at different times here over the last couple of years. So now you thought maybe they were going to ride this into the postseason. So now that's going to affect things a little bit. And what that ultimately could mean right now, more importantly, they're 5th in the West. They are a game and a half up on Dallas for 6. They're a game and a half up on Phoenix for 7. So, you go an extended period of time without him here during this stretch, it's potentially that takes you from a 5-4 matchup in the first round to play-in, and then get out of the play-in, and you potentially end up with the Denver Nuggets, depending on where they finish. So there's serious implications here down the stretch for the Pelicans if they miss a significant time without Brandon Ingram.
And I think, like I said, that starting lineup, they've had really nice depth and staggered lineups too all year. That starting lineup might have a fresh look with Trey Murphy out there, more floor spacing. Zion's going to have to be even more aggressive, which can be a good thing in the regular season. But I do think that now you need other creators. I mean, that's one thing about Ingram is you can always have one of those guys on the court and they can create. You can give them the ball and allow them to kind of stir the pot. They're a little short on that role. CJ McCollum can do it. Zion can do it. Alvarado can do it a little bit from the point guard spot, although not in the same way. But outside of that, who are the guys that are going to sort of stir the pot and get things going for you offensively? They might have a lack. Like they might be one player shy. Yeah. I'm curious. Maybe Jordan Hawkins.
By the way, real quick, I think we're going to finish here talking a little NCAA tournament. But before we do that, Jamal Murray rolled his ankle pretty significantly last night in the replay, and he was limping around a little bit as that game ended. Any carryover from that? They got Portland tomorrow, and then Memphis. Do you think there's a chance that Jamal Murray takes a couple games to rest that thing, or did he seem like he was fine after the game?
The report from the locker room last night from our guys at my company, DNVR, said that he was walking really fine, leaving the arena and stuff. So it was one of those ones that wasn't necessarily bad. But to your point, at Portland, tanking team, can Denver win that game without it so you can give him a little rest so you're not dealing with this down the stretch? I would expect that's a tough decision for Denver to make, and maybe the best thing is for Murray not to play in this next one, just to be healthy. All right, we got to get to March Madness now. We always do this, Legs. We love talking hoops so much. Our segments always go longer than we expect. Let's get to March Madness, and in particular, Kentucky going down to Oakland. If you didn't watch it, Oakland has a funny strategy. They have this guy, Gokul, who is an incredible shooter, and he doesn't take two-pointers. Not as in he doesn't take them. He had 8 2-point attempts this year. Like, I don't know if you saw the stat. All season long, he took 8 twos and 337 threes.
I didn't watch one game of Oakland this year, right? I know nothing about Jack Golke, right? But I'm on record year after year. I'm not a huge believer in John Calipari's coaching ability. Okay, he's a hell of a recruiter.
Yeah,
and he obviously gets a different kind of player. He's got a different strategy in mind. Bring in 7 freshmen, and then hopefully they all go to the league. Like that's the way he coaches everything. That's not an easy way to win. I'm not going to say that, but I also seen. When you need answers in a specific game, sometimes I think they're not getting enough of that. But anyway, that I digress. Yeah. But I was interested in this game. Once I, it started, I kind of turned it on. I'm like, oh, that's right. I forgot Kentucky's playing. And then I watched Jack Golke play. So he has 7 threes in the first half. And I decided, so I Google him. I'm like, let me see what this guy must have been putting up monster numbers at Oakland this year. And that's when I discovered the stat. And then they said it in the post game. The CBS guys, Clark Kellogg and those guys, and Ernie Johnson brought it up. I had already texted people about it. And I said, "Do you guys ever heard anything like this? This dude has taken 335 shots on the season coming into the tournament. 327 of them were threes.
That's insane.
And last night he took 20 shots. They were all threes. He was 10 for 20 from the three, and he cooled off a little bit, but he still made a couple of very impactful plays. And then another kid, Cole, hit the dagger 3 from the left corner that pretty much iced the game. But it was this incredible story. And why I was so drawn to it, man, I saw an interview done with their head coach, and then I saw him talk at halftime. And even at halftime, when it's clearly we're going to be in the game, he's just kind of talking like, hey, if we keep doing this, this, and this, we're going to lose the game. I don't know how we're going to stop them in the second half. Like just the humility, but also was obvious that he had a confidence in his own team. And then after the game, the stuff that he said about just, hey man, we didn't just come here to win a game. Like let's keep going and have great respect for our opponent. But I believe in these guys. I'm happy for the players. He talked about his AD and his SID, and it's like he got it all in, man, because this isn't a program. He's been there for 40 years, Adam. Like they said, he's coaching a kid right now, and he coached his father. Okay. so this dude has been with one program for 40 years. And he said last night, they've had 15 Power 5 wins in the history of the program, but they've never had one like last night with that many eyeballs on it. Right. So it was obviously this special moment. And this kid Golke, man, and he's kind of got short arms, and he's stocky, and he's got a receding hairline, and he came off.
He looks like Luke Kennard. This is Luke Kennard.
He was playing in the men's league somewhere, and the dude came in and just lit up Kentucky with a bunch of 5-star recruits and athletes, and they didn't have an answer for him, and it was just absolutely mesmerizing to watch. And they sent Kentucky packing. And by the way, Kentucky now is 2-6 in their last 8 NCAA tournament games. And people in Lexington, I think, are freaking out right now. But Calipari is owed $33 million. If you want to make that move, you're going to have to cut a big check.
It's a really big check, man. What about your shooter, Legs? when you watch this, do you ever wonder, like, it's not the basketball that you grew up, it's not the basketball that you know, and maybe you don't even like it, but do you wish you played on a team where they told you, Legs, you catch the ball behind the three-point line, just put it up, and don't step inside the three-point line. Just run around, try to get open, and then fire. Get 23s off.
It'll be interesting because the only guy I can think of that was similar in college, and this goes back to the Loyola Marymount teams that made those runs with those high-powered offenses shooting within 5 seconds. They had a kid named Jeff Fryer who literally didn't take anything other than a three, and all of them were on the right side of the court because the way they ran their break. And he was instructed, if the ball gets kicked out in transition to you, shoot it. There's no hesitation like that. If you don't, you're coming out of the game. Like I couldn't. And honestly, I don't think I would like to play that way. Like
really,
it would go against so many things I believed in offensively. And also I could put it down, and I could get to them if that's what the situation called for. And just to take shots that you kind of felt like in your heart were not great shots.
Yeah.
I think psychologically, if you're not fully bought into what you're doing, like on this shot, it'd be hard. But obviously Golke is, because 347 of 355 shots taken have been threes. What I would like to see is I would like to see a clip reel of the 8 2-point shots he took.
Me too. I was wondering this too. Fast breaks.
So how
right?
did that come about? Like he clearly got run off the line or something. Like,
I don't know.
got a turnover in the backcourt. Like, I don't know.
That's what it is. I think it's a leak out. I think it's a fast break layup, and that it just has to. I'll bet you half of them at least are just fast break layups, because that's an insane stat, man. But they were fun.
By the way, real quick, before we go, since we're talking about the tournament, the other game that was so fascinating to me last night was Samford, who are based in Birmingham, Alabama, taking on Kansas, right? And this was a great game. And oh my goodness, is there scrutiny now, and is going to be call for change because they are down by 1 point. Samford trails late in the game, inside of 20 seconds. They're full court pressing. Kansas throws the ball over the top for a breakaway. Kid's going in, and he's going in to dunk the ball. And the kid from Samford comes from behind. And it's bang, bang. And the kid for Kansas actually, the ball got dislodged from his hands. He grabbed the rim. He swung out. And he literally landed horribly on his chest.
I can't believe he wasn't hurt.
It looked ugly, like full speed. You're like, wow, that could be a flagrant foul. They might throw this guy out of the game. And then they show the replay. He didn't touch him. He hit the ball cleanly, like completely knocked the ball out of his hand from behind. The ball ricocheted off the backboard, came out. A Samford guy had the ball. So that they would have been going the other way with a Kansas player laid out on the floor. They would have been going 5-on-4 the other way, down 1, to potentially beat Kansas. But they called the foul. And then this replay has been shown 1,000 times all over the country. It was a giant blown up picture of the actual contact of the ball on the New York Post. Like, this is a major, major deal. And it's like, why, if we're able to do this at the NBA level with everything that's at stake in the NCAA tournament, are we not using replay? But they couldn't do it. So the kid goes to the line for Kansas, makes 2 free throws, and they get off a forced 3, and Kansas wins the game. Very unfortunate, or we would have had 2 blue blood programs going home on day 1, Kentucky and Kansas, potentially. Now, they still, Samford still would have had to score, but they're down 1. I think there's a decent chance that they had almost had 90 points in the game. There's a good chance they're going to score on that last possession, particularly if they had numbers in the open floor.
It was an all-time play. It's a bummer that a whistle got called, because to make that's hard to do. Probably a little luck involved to jump at full speed and only touch the ball. Like, he has 2 hands on the ball. There's only a little window for you to get all ball, and he pokes it just perfectly. It's an incredible play. But unfortunately, all for naught. All right, we got to get out of here. I know you got somewhere to be here, but we got to get out, as always, with DraftKings Sportsbooks. Who won the week? We always ask every week, who won the week? And the nominees for this week are, let's take a look. We have got, well, first of all, the Magic went 4-0 this week. Boston, Dallas, Houston 3-0, Oklahoma City 2-0. But we have Jalen Green, 31 points per game on 49-44 shooting splits. Also 8.3 rebounds a game, very impressive. Anthony Edwards goes 31, 8, and 7, had 3 stocks. And of course, some monster fourth quarters this week. Ayo Dosunmu, off of the Chicago Bulls, 2-1 record, 31.7 assists. And of course, he had that career night earlier in the week. And then Zion Williams, 27 points a game. Those are the nominees. Legs, who are you giving it to?
I got to go with Jalen Green, and this is kind of funny to me because I remember doing a conversation on the Houston Rockets or the Orlando Magic. Which core would you rather have? Which young core?
Right. Yeah.
And you started off your statement on the Rockets by saying, "Yeah, just put Jalen Green to the side." Like, I'm not even including him. I'll never forget you said that. And I get why you said it, but here's the thing: if it's time to give some flowers out to this young man, right?
Yep.
Because not only is he putting up crazy numbers. I mean, his last 4 games, 26-42, 26-37. He's averaging 27 points on 50% shooting for the month of March, almost 40% from the 3-point line. Assist numbers aren't great. It's not really his strength. He's an attacking, scoring, athletic guard. Give him his flowers, man, because not only is he playing great, Adam, they've won 7 straight games, and all of a sudden, we thought we knew for a fact where the cutoff line was for the play-in. And guess what?
Come on, legs. The Rockets
are making it in. Listen, I'm not saying they're going to get in, but Adam, you can't dismiss the fact that they are 2.5 games out. Right? They're 2.5 games out of the 10 spot. So at least you have to continue to watch Rockets right now. That's all I'm saying. Right. We thought we were done with everybody below that line. Those 5 teams, forget about them. Talking next year. Jalen Green and the Rockets have gotten back in this thing, and he has been absolutely sensational, and he gives you highlight reel plays every night.
They play Golden State one more time, so, they can make a dent there. I don't see it. There's not enough time. But you know what? I hope I'm wrong, because I would love a little photo finish here between Lakers, Warriors, and the Rockets. I would not mind that. Real quickly, Emma, show us the weekend slate. We'll just bring it up here. Friday night. What do we have here? Cavs and Minnesota. You got the Heat and the Pelicans. The new look Pelicans now, Warriors and Pacers. Which of these stand out to you?
Oh, I think I had to probably go. There's some good ones, man. Heat, Pels, Cavs, Timberwolves, and Warriors, Pacers are the 3. I guess you got to check out tonight, right?
Look at all these late. No. Oh, I guess there's a couple early start games. All right. What about Saturday night, Emma? We have got Kings and Magic. Ooh, I like that matchup.
That's a
Kings,
good one.
Magic. Really good one. Let's see what else we have here. Is that the only one? Actually, you know what? Celtics Bulls. I'm giving a hat tip to the Bulls. They've been playing hard.
Well, now, listen, the way Houston's playing, I got to watch the Rockets, man. Pacers, Rockets. Got to check them out.
Jazz Rockets. But, yep. All right. And then Sunday slate, the game we're going to be talking about on Monday. What did they give us? Cavs, Heat. That's a really good one. Pacers, Lakers should be interesting. Thunder, Bucks. That's the game right there. Yep. And then Warriors, Wolves also carries a lot of weight for both teams. Both those teams. Every game's so important for the Timberwolves right now. So Sunday gave us some gifts. There'll definitely be a lot to talk about on Monday, Legs.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have a great show on Monday. We had a great week this week, man. I thought the content this week was sensational, and it's fun to get a little college basketball mixed in there as well.
We'll have more college basketball, I'm sure, on Monday because we got 3 days of March Madness ahead of us starting right now. We're going to go ahead to watch that. Everybody, we appreciate you hanging out with us all week. Don't forget to hit that like button for us on the way out. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. It always helps us. Even if you watch the live stream, subscribe there, download. Oh, and super producer Emma tells us we have one super chat. Let's get to it quickly here. Jay Rich says, just found a really cool Jokic Centaur shirt on Etsy. Legs, somebody paid $5 so that you would be aware that they bought a Jokic Centaur shirt on Etsy. That's how bad they wanted you to know that.
I got news for you. That won't compare to a Hartenstein Centaur jersey for Adam. I can tell you that right now. He would burn that Jokic jersey so fast to get a Hartenstein.
If you find a Hartenstein Centaur t-shirt, send me the link. I'm buying it. Everybody, thanks for hanging out. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
City like the mayor.